各位记者朋友，大家。
Good afternoon. Welcome to today's press conference. Now the floor is open.
谢谢。深圳卫视执新闻记者提问。11月24号。
Shenzhen TV. On November the 24th, in a letter to the UN Secretary General, Japan's permanent representative to the UN said that China's assertion that Japan would exercise the right of self-defense in the absence of an armed attack is erroneous. Japan's fundamental defense policy is the posture of passive defense strategy. The remarks by the PM are grounded in this position. The international community could oppose the approach of imposing coercive measures. What's China's comment on that? Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi's erroneous remarks on Taiwan openly challenged the victorious outcomes of World War II and the post-war international order, and constitute a serious violation of the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. And China's letter to the UN Secretary General setting out our solemn position was entirely justified and necessary. The letter by the Japanese side is full of erroneous views and lies. The letter cited so-called consistent position of the Japanese side on the Taiwan question. However, as to what exactly this consistent position is, the Japanese side has continued to evade the question and has yet to give China a direct answer. Therefore, we ask the Japanese side once again, can the Japanese government provide the international community with a complete and accurate explanation of its consistent position on the Taiwan question stated in the four political documents between China and Japan? The Japanese side stressed that Japan adheres to a passive defense strategy which is exclusively defense-oriented, and asserts that Takaichi's remarks were grounded in this position. Taiwan is China's territory. How to resolve the Taiwan question is a matter for the Chinese ourselves, and brooks no external interference. Yet, Takaichi linked Japan's survival-threatening situation with the Taiwan contingency, implying the use of force against China. Is this what the Japanese side's passive defense strategy, which is exclusively defense-oriented, means? Article 2.4 of Chapter 1 of UN Charter stipulates that all members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. As a sitting leader of a defeated country in World War II, Takaichi threatened a victorious country with the use of force. In the case of survival-threatening situation, this alone calls Japan into question. How could Japan have the audacity to claim that it has always respected and adhered to international law, including the UN Charter? The Japanese side also insinuates accusations regarding the defense development and coercive measures of other countries. This is nothing but blame shifting. In fact, since Japan's defeat, right-wing forces within Japan have never ceased attempts to whitewash its history of aggression. Japan has been increasing its defense budget for 13 consecutive years, relaxed the restrictions on arms exports more than once, developed so-called enemy-based strike capability, attempted to alter the three non-nuclear principles, and further hollowed out the provisions on Japan clearly stipulated in the Cairo Declaration and the Potsdam Declaration and the pacifist constitution drafted on the basis of these provisions. It is the Japanese side, not others, that has been engaged in the prolonged expansion of military capabilities, taking coercive measures and attempting unilateral changes to the status quo despite oppositions from neighboring countries. Given all these reasons, China's permanent mission to the UN once again sent a letter to the UN Secretary General and reiterated our stern position. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. China firmly opposes the Japanese side, reversing the course of history, challenging the post-war international order, and honoring the militarists. We once again urge the Japanese side to do some soul-searching, correct its wrongdoings, fulfill its obligations as a defeated country, take practical steps to honor its commitments to China and the international community, and stop reneging on its words once again. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。RT 经审俄罗斯记者提问。
RTTV. Yesterday, Russian President Putin signed an order offering visa-free policy to Chinese citizens. Chinese citizens can travel to Russia visa-free for tourism, business, and sports purposes. What is the Foreign Ministry's comment?
中俄实现
What you said is a very good news. Mutual visa exemption between China and Russia is yet another step taken by the two governments to build closer ties between the two peoples. We believe this policy will further deepen friendship and enhance exchanges and cooperation in various areas. China welcomes more Russian friends to visit China visa-free anytime and looks forward to seeing Chinese nationals embark on a beautiful journey to Russia visa-free. Next one, please.
朝日电视台提问：据报道，
Asahi, it's reported that the Japan-China Friendship Parliamentarians Union, the Japan Business Federation, and some Japanese organizations have conveyed to China their willingness to visit China within this year. Will the Chinese side accept their visits?
我们注意到了
We noted the report, and also the fact that many visionary people in Japan are deeply concerned over the egregious influence and grave consequences of Prime Minister Takaichi's erroneous remarks on Taiwan. The Chinese side urges the Japanese side to do some soul-searching, correct its wrongdoings, retract Prime Minister Takaichi's erroneous remarks, stop harming the sentiments of the two peoples, take practical steps to honor its political commitments to China, and create the necessary conditions for the normal exchanges between the two countries. We hope relevant organizations and groups in Japan will play a more positive role within the country.
Thanks, Bloomberg News. Taiwan's foreign minister said that the dispute between China and Japan could drag on for a year. Would the foreign minister like to comment on that?
台湾是中国的一部分。
Taiwan is part of China. There is no such a thing as foreign minister of Taiwan. The difficulty facing China-Japan relations is simply due to Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi's erroneous remarks on Taiwan. The Japanese side need to honor its political commitments to China, retract the erroneous remarks, and take practical steps to do soul-searching and correct its wrongdoings. Any external force who dares to meddle in the affairs on Taiwan Strait will face a resolute and head-on blow from China. The DPP authorities' ill-intentioned attempts are simply disgraceful, and their attempts of seeking independence through soliciting foreign independence through soliciting foreign support will lead nowhere. Next one, please.
大家还有其他问题吗？
Anything else?
Hello, question from Reuters. The question is on the Honduran presidential elections. I wanted to ask, are there any concerns from China that the new Honduras president will end diplomatic relations with China in favor of Taiwan, and whether there were any conversations between Chinese diplomats and the Honduras presidential candidates not to end diplomatic relations? Thank you.
The presidential election is the internal affair for Honduras. China always upholds the principles of non-interference in internal affairs. Let me stress that since March 2023, our two countries established diplomatic ties. Bilateral ties between China and Honduras experienced fast development. Practical cooperation on all fronts has brought fruitful results and benefits of the two countries. China stands ready to promote the bilateral relations forward and bring more benefits to the two peoples on the basis of mutual respect. Next one, please.
大家还有其他问题？
Anything else?
好，那今天的记者会就到这里，谢谢。
Then let's call it a day. Thank you for coming.